Yo, what's the word, man? We back at it again with another reaction video. So this is another video about like migrants and shit. Feel me? And yeah, bro, let's get into the video. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, comment, like, and subscribe. We on the road to 100K, bro.
Promise of Donald Trump's
Subscribing is
presidential
free, bro.
campaign was
Feel
mass
me? So,
deportations. New York
go
City has
hit
about
that button.
400,000 undocumented immigrants. If that promise comes to pass, it would have a huge impact on life in the city. So, around 476,000 individuals live in New York City who are undocumented, and now they're worried that that might not last too much longer. Because even though this is America's largest sanctuary city, which still houses around 60,000 asylum seekers, many immigrants of all backgrounds are very worried that federal agents could soon be here looking for them.
President-elect Trump promising mass deportations on day one of his second term, and today thousands of protesters took to the streets in a show of solidarity and defiance against Trump.
We're here to send a message loud and clear after the election that even though this administration is going to target immigrant communities, that we're here to stay.
New York is a sanctuary city where undocumented immigrants are largely shielded from immigration agents. Those convicted of serious crimes do face deportation, but police commanders believe they're a tiny percentage of the thousands who poured into the city.
Trump's pick for border czar Tom Homan promises to carry out his mass deportation plan with or without the cooperation of so-called sanctuary cities.
We'll know who we're going to arrest, where we're most likely to find them.
He's setting up right now a battle between the federal government and the state and city government. Can a locality decide to circumvent federal immigration laws and prohibit federal law enforcement from doing its job?
If we can't get assistance from New York City, we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City.
Crazy.
With stories like this becoming the new normal across America, it's becoming obvious something's got to be done to get bad actors out of our country. But what nobody's talking about is that progressive leaders and activists in sanctuary cities are once again trying to paint this as some sort of mean-spirited crackdown against every immigrant who lives here, when it's the gang members that shouldn't be here who are targeting and exploiting law-abiding immigrants and asylum seekers. And this exploitation starts south of the border when many enlist the help of guides to travel into America, only to discover they're now prisoners of gangs and cartels who they owe massive debts to for their help getting into the country. And what most people don't know is that these gangs, they photograph and mark people before they bring them here, creating a permanent record some asylum seekers can never escape from, leading to that vulnerable person being exploited not only on their way to America, but even after that, because when they arrive in a sanctuary city like New York, gang members are here waiting for them in many of our asylum shelters. And when people who've fled poverty and traveled thousands of miles enter these places, dangerous criminals waste no time sizing up each and every one of them regardless of who they are, for their value as human capital that can be put to work in service of their gang. Which brings us to the real reason why many people voted for a president who would carry out these deportations. This looks like the only way to remove dangerous criminals and gang members from cities across the country, especially the sanctuary cities. Yet even after winning a landslide presidential election, the Trump administration will have its work cut out for it, because sanctuary cities like New York have rules in place to stop them at every turn, like laws that make it illegal for local police who've arrested these gang members before and know who they are and where they live to help ICE get them off the streets. But as you're about to see, Trump's new border czar is kind of the opposite of our current border czar, and he says he's going to deport people from sanctuary cities whether they help him.
Why is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers? Like, chill guys, just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension.
Or not. So this massive building here, this is the Stewart Hotel. It's a former hotel. It's now being used as a shelter for asylum seeker families. It's right here in Midtown by Penn Station and Madison Square Garden. And although there could be deportation agents here after Trump's second term starts, the people they'll be looking for aren't who most New Yorkers think they are.
What do mass deportations look like, Chad? You target individuals, you remove dangerous criminals, you have to prioritize. The department actually deports individuals every single day. Now, under this administration, they have been at historic lows. And as you mentioned, the number
So it looks like these deportation efforts, they're going to focus on dangerous criminals and gang members. And it also looks like people currently get deported every single day in America. And although there have been fewer deportations than normal and way more border crossings than normal over the last few years, which has led to more of the wrong people making their way into the country, it sounds like the Trump administration is not going to be looking to round up millions of people and send them somewhere. No. In fact, they've only got about 6,000 deportation agents right now. Yes, they could hire more, but it would take time to go through that process, and the resources really aren't there for what many activists in New York claim everybody should be afraid of. And some of the activists at these protests, they're U.S. citizens. They don't have anything to worry about, or they're green card holders with permanent residency. On top of that, asylum seekers have a legal right to remain in America while their court case plays out, which means most of the folks who live here, they don't have anything to worry about either, unless they're already wanted by federal immigration authorities for something.
You concentrate on the public safety threats and the national security threats first, because those are the worst of the worst. So it's going to be the worst first. That's how it has to be done. And we know a record number of people on terrorist watch lists have crossed this border. We know a record number of terrorists have been released in this country.
Who could possibly be against that? If somebody's on a terror watch list, their presence in America puts all Americans and any law-abiding resident in danger. And it even puts people in danger who might be here in an undocumented way, but aren't criminals either. It's hard to believe that it's possible to find people who are against such a plan. Yet they're here and they're ready to dig in their heels and fight against it every step of the way. And the damage these bad actors are causing inside shelters that are supposed to help those who New York activists say they truly care about is astonishing. And it's the asylum seekers themselves who are complaining about gangs and want them gone. They're the ones with young kids living in these shelters who don't want to see criminals exploit them. And when the asylum seekers who are immigrants and live in city-run shelters next to gang members tell us that these gangs are a real problem and that they're dangerous, we should probably open our ears and start listening. But the activists aren't, because it's Trump who wants to get rid of these people. Here's a parent who lives at the Roosevelt Hotel, which is another shelter near here, and it's got verified gang members living inside of it because they've been arrested and listed this place as their address. And these are parents who came here fleeing these gangs, and now the gangs are here waiting for them in the shelters that are supposed to help them. Literally, this is total lawlessness, and it's not empowering people. It's not protecting our immigrant communities. Instead, it's putting them in danger and ruining their lives. And that's just the gang members from Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang that started in a prison. We've literally had known members of dangerous organizations enter the country and disappear. Who knows what they could possibly be up to? Those people need to be found. But instead, the local resistance efforts here are trying to make this some anti-immigrant agenda, when really it's immigrants who suffer first at the hands of many of these criminals. But the activists do bring up a good point. This is going to be a very expensive operation. It's going to cost billions of dollars, and nobody's quite sure where that money's going to come from.
First of all, the cost of deportation, this President Trump's plan is going to be a cost savings to the American people, because this administration is paying for free airline tickets all over the country, free hotel rooms at $500 a night, free education, free medical care.
500 to night.
So, according to the new border czar, this could cost a lot of money at first, but in the long run, it's going to save the country a lot of money, and you can't really put a price on national security and people's lives. That's tough. And as New York City is learning, even the most progressive immigration plans in the entire country will eventually run out of money and run out of ways to help people, which is what's happening here. We've got over 200 asylum shelters here, but they're all at capacity, and people get evicted after 30 and 60-day time periods and have to go live somewhere else, even though they don't have a job, even though they don't have any way to necessarily provide for themselves. These rolling evictions are how city officials have kept the whole thing affordable, even though it really isn't. And sadly, now you've got people living in tents outside some of the very places that were supposed to not help them end up homeless. And not only is this whole asylum industrial complex incredibly expensive to maintain, the idea that criminals are benefiting from it is just sickening. At the same time, nobody from the federal government is telling New York that it can't have its right to shelter rules, and nobody's telling New York that it can't house 60,000 asylum seekers who are law-abiding in hotels like this one. They're just asking for a little help, removing gang members and criminals from these places who are doing so much damage, the people inside of them aren't getting anything out of it. But since it's President Trump who wants to locate and deport these bad actors, local activists say this must be an evil plan. It must be wrong because of who's behind it. And just as President Trump may have a mandate from voters to carry out the promises he campaigned upon, our leaders here have a mandate from their voters, who still overwhelmingly do not support Donald Trump, to get in the way of whatever plan comes our way. And they don't seem to care about the collateral damage and continued suffering that's still going to take place here if the status quo is maintained.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't really gotta say much in this topic.
So one of the big controversies here is how helpful local police, who are now banned from assisting federal agents, could potentially be when they go out looking for gang members and other criminals who might be living here in New York. But this is something activists really do not want at all, because immediately in their minds they assume that this is going to have the NYPD separating families and deporting the law-abiding, which isn't the message here at all. No, but that doesn't matter. They've vowed to stand against it, and they want to keep things exactly how they are right now in this town.
Thousands of people, backed by more than 30 groups, took to the streets Saturday, marching from Columbus Circle to Bryant Park.
We're here to send a message loud and clear after the election that even though this administration is going to target immigrant communities, low-income people of color, that we're here to stay. We're actually going to be more visible and powerful.
So this interview is fascinating, and this is the first individual we've heard say that this deportation agenda is not going to be about protecting immigrant communities. No, instead, they're telling us that this is actually about destroying immigrant communities and getting rid of people who have legal right to be here. And these protesters really believe this is about rounding up low-income people. Who said that? Only them. But the reality of this is that they didn't vote for Trump. They don't like Trump. And if he wants to do something, there's no way it's a good thing. No way. And even though these protesters are trying to resist something that's not going to actually happen, there are quite a few people in New York who agree with them. And no matter what happens over the next few months, it may very well be framed as some sort of wicked operation that everyone should be morally opposed to. Even though the entire point of this operation is to put gang members and terror threats, people who are of low moral character, in the back of police cars and take them away to a place where they can't do anyone any harm. But our new border czar says that even if New York isn't going to give him any assistance, he's still going to come here and get the job of removing dangerous criminals accomplished.
Hey, look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way, they're going to make it hard for us. Well, we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City, because we're going to do the job.
So if New York City decides to stand against this in some capacity, apparently more ICE agents, double the number, will just be deployed here to accomplish this task. An accomplishment that will definitely be appreciated by the many asylum seekers living in shelters where they are surrounded by dangerous gang members right now. And this is also going to come as a relief to many of the immigrant communities in New York that are under attack by these gangs, who are setting up criminal operations all over town. In many cases, selling things that are stolen from local businesses right on the side of the road out of suitcases. And you've got to ask yourself, if you see a young woman pulling tools out of a suitcase that were stolen from Home Depot, you've got to ask yourself, is she really selling them on a Saturday morning in the freezing cold because that's what she wants to do with her time? Or did someone tell her that that's what she better do with her time? Either way, many immigrant communities across New York voted red for the very first time. And it seems like the asylum seekers living in our shelters and many immigrants who live here have more in common with our border czar than some of these activists do, which is surprising. And there's incredible pressure on Mayor Eric Adams right now to pick a side in this immigration-related debate. Will he help Trump? Will he not help Trump? And which New Yorkers should he support?
I don't know.
He can't factor. But what he even realize that when they defend policies that have led to that, those things are just going to continue, and the very people who the asylum crisis is named after may continue to be in danger. Let me know. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.
I ain't gonna lie, if y'all enjoyed that reaction video, make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe, man. We're on the road to 100K, man. Let's get it.